Winter 2025 has been a mixed bag for anime fans. On one hand, we have returning series such as Apothecary Diaries that pick up right where they left off. Mao Mao is back to give us endless reaction gifts and historical fiction drama this season. The same can be said about My Happy Marriage Season 2. But what about some degen content for us ecchi enjoyers? Have no fear, for the 100 girlfriends who really love you is back for more harem goodness. If that's not your speed, then how about some classic romantic comedies? This season is no stranger to them with shows like I'm Getting Married to a Girl I Hate in My Class. This series has your typical rivals to lovers trope with Saito Hojo and Akane Sakura Mori being forced to get married. Their grandparents essentially force the two of them to get married so they can live vicariously through their grandchildren. They are using them to fulfill their dream that they can no longer do, even while the two grandparents openly admit to being in a relationship and banging one another. This is just a stepsister romantic comedy with extra steps. Saito and Akane's grandparents blackmail them into marriage, to which they reluctantly agree to. This show follows tropes regarding arranged marriages and rivals to lovers, with the two competing to be the better one in the relationship. While somewhat retreading on previously done concepts, the execution is done well enough to keep you entertained. I Have a Crush, or Can You Keep a Secret, is a workplace romantic comedy with Yui Mitsuya and Masugu Tateshi hiding their relationship from their coworkers. The dynamic comes from Yui acting like a hot-headed woman who hates Tateshi, but in actuality, the two are very much in love. This show does one thing that I love, which is just cutting straight to the romantic stuff. It doesn't twiddle its thumbs and slow plays the romance. Instead, we are plopped into the middle of the relationship and we see how it develops and grows. For those of us who want to laugh in a genuine portrayal of relationship dynamics, Can You Keep a Secret is everything and more that you'd want from a seinen romantic comedy. For our shoujo romantic comedy lovers, Honey Lemon Soda is about Uka Ishimori, who is a girl who's endlessly bullied in middle school as she tries to reinvent herself and have a fresh start. Uka is bullied, with people referring to her as the Stone, and even throwing her shoes in the trash. Our male love interest, Kai, sees how Uka is bullied and finally inspires Uka to stand up for herself, with her soaking her bullies in lemon soda, hence the show's name. These bullies are just lucky they didn't get sprayed with another golden liquid, if you catch my drift, or unlucky, depends on who you ask. Kai and his group of friends stand up to Uka's bullies, and this is the basis of the relationship going forward. Honey Lemon Soda follows Uka as she goes from a socially awkward and anxious girl to someone who can depend on herself. It falls upon the damsel in distress notion a little too much, with Kai having to build Uka up, but I don't mind it that much. For those looking for a shoujo rom-com with a female protagonist, Honey Lemon Soda is the best that we have for this season. Following the trend with shows like Nagatoro and Komi-sama is Okitsura fell in love with an Okinawan girl, but I just wish I know what she was saying. It is a show about a cross-cultural romance that has our protagonist Teruki Nakamura, like Deadpool in Deadpool and Wolverine 3. It is a bit bland when it comes to romantic comedy, but it has just enough regional and cultural flair to make it stick out. Similar to Hokkaido Girls are super adorable. If those shows interest you, then Okitsura is probably the closest thing that you'll get this season to it.
Hatsune Miku! Is that you? Have you found Brink? Come to put me out of my misery!
Some of you may be asking for a boys' love show, and Babanbabanban Vampire is a supernatural romantic comedy that follows Mori as he vows to protect the virginity of 15-year-old Rahito. He does this so he can wait until Rahito is 18 years old and he can taste his blood as he seeks this ultimate taste. This is his preference when it comes to drinking blood. The problem comes in the story when Rahito goes to Mori asking for love life advice. This follows Mori as he sabotages Rahito's love life and the antics of the two of them living at this public bathhouse which Rahito's family owns. Mori's efforts to sabotage Rahito actually backfire towards him, with Aoi, the girl that Rahito likes, now infatuated with Mori.
Ethan, put on some clothes.
Enough of these romantic comedies though, how about something masculine and manly like a sports anime? Okay, so Medalist wasn't what I had in mind, but this is an awesome and super under talked about show. This is what Yuri on Ice should have been, with Tsukasa Akuraji having aspired to be a figure skater, but having not achieved his dream. That is until he meets Inori Yuitsuka, a 5th grader that desperately wants to skate. Tsukasa sees himself in Inori, with people saying that she has aged out and that it's too late for her to skate. This hits me right in the feels with Tsukasa going out of his way to help Inori. even as Inori's mother doesn't support her passion for figure skating, suggesting that she'll get hurt. This is because Inori's older sister got hurt in an accident while figure skating, which is why she's overprotective of Inori. Despite this, the only thing Inori wants to do is skating, with her grades being terrible and her unable to juggle responsibilities. Tsukasa takes a chance on Inori after her mother tries to dash her dreams, but Tsukasa suggests to her mom that she should at least take a lap. The themes of wanting to belong and wanting to be the best version of herself are what brought me to tears. As an athlete and competitor, there is nothing like having drive and passion to be the very best, but not having people believe in you or not believing that you can even reach that top. Tsukasa goes on a limb for Inori, channeling his own insecurities but wanting to improve and kind of help her reach her goal. This show is an absolute tearjerker and is definitely my favorite of the season. The fluidity of motion is similar to actual ice skating, mimicking the movement and elegance of true figure skating. Medalist follows the story of Tsukasa and Inori as they aim to get Inori a gold medal at the Olympics. Speaking of Tsukasa, I'm living with an Otaku NEET Kunoichi has the female ninja Idara Shizuri living with a normal salaryman named Tsukasa. This borders on absurd and ecchi as a supernatural romantic comedy series. The weird thing about this show is how it's split up into two 12-minute segments, yet they're played together, even doing a mid-episode OP role. It only really has one thing going for it, and that's the fan service.
Then something just snapped! Something inside of me! I didn't care anymore! I didn't care about being better than Kakarot!
Back to sports anime though, with Sorairo Utility, which is a bloody golf anime. Minami is worried that she lacks any skills that make her stand out. That is until she encounters Haruka Akane, a golf prodigy that hits absolute nukes. This story is about Minami as she attempts to become a golfing legend.
Now watch this drive.
For those of you who are looking for a dark fantasy show, Übel Blatt is about Coincel, who's on a revenge quest to find those who betrayed and killed him. The 7 warriors who betrayed him and 3 others are known as the 7 heroes. They are returned home to the Emperor to label the 4 who were killed as the Lances of Betrayal. This is a dark fantasy series with a revenge plot similar to Ragna Crimson, but the same thing happens here with the manga being better than the adaptation. I'm starting to believe that we'll never actually get a new dark fantasy show that does well.
Did he just sig Heil?
As for other fantasy shows, there is Bogus Skill Fruit Master. In this world, people are given skill fruits that are eerily similar to devil fruits from One Piece. Those who consume the fruit are given a unique skill, and our protagonist, Light, no, not that Light, this Light, is given the skill Fruit Master. Given the title of the show, it can be inferred that the reason he can consume multiple skill fruits is due to the fact that he is a master of fruits. This is in fact the case with a small girl by the name of Ayla accidentally cooking a skill fruit into the soup. That being said, the story is about Light and his childhood friend Lena, who adventure with one another with the Sword God and Sword Saint skills respectively. In terms of fantasy shows, this is as generic as your typical OP character tropes. Those of you who don't mind OP pro tags, Bogus Skill Fruit Master is one of the countless shows this season. Continuing with that train of thought, there is I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. The title is very self-explanatory, with Alina Clover signing up to work at the Adventurers Guild so that she can work a peaceful job and have a good life. Alina is convinced that she has to take matters into her own hands when she one-shots a dragon like Saitama in front of an adventuring party called Silver Sword. Up until this point, she's lived in secrecy, and her identity is then almost immediately found out by the leader of Silver Sword, Jade Scrade. He reveals that he saw her black hair, green eyes, and face in the dungeon. Alina then threatens Jade, swearing him to secrecy. That is until the Guildmaster finds out almost immediately about this in the next episode. Hirumasu is undoubtedly the best of these OP character shows this season, with comedy and a decent story backing it. I left my A-rank party to help my former students reach the dungeon depths, or Aperida follows Yuke Feldio, who is a red mage tired of being mistreated in his party. After countless shows like this with an OP character leaving their party, this and the most notorious talker happen to be the best of the past year. Yuke Feldio leaves and joins his former students, Rain, Silk, and Marina, in their D-rank party as a B-rank adventurer. Yuke goes with them into the dungeon, where he vastly improves the D-rank party and their experience inside of it. In this world, the parties show themselves fighting via live streams which people can watch. This is a pretty cool concept that kind of mirrors Log Horizon. Also, it gets brownie points for not making an all-female party super infatuated with him like it's some kind of ecchi harem show. This is more parental than anything, which is what makes it entertaining. That and watching Yuke's old party struggle in the dungeon with the blonde girl getting chewed up by a direwolf. Their party, appropriately named Clover due to them having 4 members in the party, is now being raved by people watching the live stream where Yuke killed a steel crab by himself without even touching it. Also, full reliable CGI horses return once again as well. Aquarita is just finding its footing at the end of the 2nd episode, but it will surely be an average to above average fantasy show this season and the next, with 24 episodes coming out. I'm a noble on the brink of ruin, so I might as well try Mastering Magic as one of the fantasy shows this season that's bogged down by tropes and generic plot points. This is in part due to it being written by Miki Nazuna, who is known for writing these kind of copy and paste OP character stories, such as My Unique Skill Makes Me OP even at level 1 and Grand Prize Unrivaled Harem Ticket. This is probably the worst fantasy show of the season, and it's just not very entertaining and feels flat. The only other show that can kind of contend for worst fantasy show is Farmagia, which is a very generic fantasy in its own right. Nothing really makes it stand out as opposed to other fantasy series this season.
Shut the fuck up. Know your fucking place, trash.
There's From Bureaucrat to Villainess. Dad's been reincarnated. This one is a blast, with 52-year-old Kondabayashi being reincarnated as Grace, a daughter of a duke. It is an otome game isekai as well as a gender bend, which is hilarious. His daughter is the one who owns the game initially, and he notices her playing it before he dies. This seems to be a satire in love for villainesses from the 70s and 80s, which stands out on its own. Now reincarnated though, he has to play the role of the villainess, but he's too often blinded by his parents' guidance and gaze. So instead of derailing the heroine, he instead provides help, and it's a unique take on the genre that feels really solid. I definitely would recommend this series for any otome game lovers or shoujo enjoyers. Even still, there's enough to keep a male audience such as myself engaged as well.
Hey look, a cardboard box washed up on the beach. Holy fish paste! It's a guy!
One of the more underrated and funny isekai series this season is the daily life of a middle-aged online shopper in another world. The story follows Kenichi, who is transported from Japan to this fantasy land for no real reason. He is not your typical OP protag though, and he can only progress through his item box and ability to buy items from online stores. Kenichi buys cheap items such as hairpins and sells them to gain enough wealth so that he can live a comfortable life. Instead of going around and one-shotting everything in his way, we watch as Kenichi is a salesman in another world. It is important to note though that we see Kenichi suiting up into a Voltron-style mech made out of industrial dozers in the OP, so I can't wait to see that. Also, a quick question, does anyone else think this cat girl is just butt-ass naked here? No? Just me? Okay.
Oh, who's gonna come clean this up? Oh my god, who's gonna go?
This is quietly one of the better isekai series this season, with Kenichi growing his business with a merchant named Mallow. It is a nice laid-back show that you can turn off your brain, relax, and just unwind with. I highly recommend it. Promise of Wizard follows Akira transported to another world on a moonlit night. At first glance, this appears to be an otome-style isekai with Akira surrounded by typical shoujo hotties. This follows Akira and the Wizards of the Sage, wizards that are appointed to fight a supernatural threat that come once a year from the moon. Akira is chosen as the savior and must lead the Wizards of the Sage to fight these forces off. This show is more directed towards a female demographic with reverse harem tropes littered throughout it. If you're looking for a shoujo-focused isekai this season, Promise of Wizard is just that.
Don't be intimidated, Squidward. Try to imagine him in his underwear. Oh no, he's hot!
If you like gunplot or the Super Sentai genre, there is the Red Ranger becomes an adventurer in another world. Togo Azagaki is a Power Ranger who dies in the final battle only to be reincarnated into a fantasy world. CGI is a little janky at times, but when it looks clean, it looks fantastic. The mech actually looks really well defined. Even better, the monsters match the mecha style as well, making it fit stylistically. If you want to see a giant mecha fight massive monsters or just love Super Sentai in general, this series has everything you'll love. For me, this is the most underappreciated isekai series as of right now, but it'll be one of your favorites by the end of this season. Magic Maker, How to Make Magic in Another World focuses on a 30-year-old man reborn in another world named Shion. The first episode focuses on Mary and Shion's relationship as kids with typical childhood antics. The only thing is, the concept of magic does not exist in this world, with Shion being disappointed that it isn't a thing. There is a 3-year time skip and they go fishing where we have this awkward conversation.
私とシオンには求愛行動はいらないのね。もう家族だもん。 私は女の子でシオンは男の子じゃない？
産まないよ。っていうか兄弟では結婚できないから。
どうして？シオンは私のこと好きじゃないの？
Knock that off, you two. It's time for church.
Shion declines her advances but insists that he won't get married in order to stay with his sister instead, which still seems a little yucky. This sister complex stuff has never been for me and it still isn't right now, but I'm sure there are many people who will enjoy it. Shion discovers magic while denying his sister's advances, and the story is about him creating the concept of magic in this world. The use of powerful emotions triggered that magical response. This series compares this to electric eels, who have an organ that help create electric fields, and how this world's humans may have a similar organ. Shion describes this as a magically charged state. The rest of the episode focuses on Shion discovering more about how to conduct magic into a state and use it. Magic Maker is a story about Shion trying to create the concepts and basis of magic in this other world, vastly changing history in the process. Beheneko, the elf girl's cat is secretly an S-ranked monster, is a story about a knight reincarnating as a behemoth that looks like a house cat. This is a ecchi-filled show that follows Arya, a female elf adventurer who takes in our cat protag, Tama. Beheneko is a series that furries can indulge and love, as Arya states that she's perfectly fine with crossbreeding with Tama when he's older. The one thing about Tama is that he's similar to Rimuru Tempest from Slime Sama in the manner that when he consumes the other monsters, he obtains their abilities. This is this season's fan service show, so much so that they have a censored and uncensored version of the series.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I am ready for sex.
If you want to see a small house cat one-shot opponents, or you just want to see your fill of degenerate elf antics, Beheneko is your ideal show this season.
Hey man, this look pretty good, man. Where your clothes at?
Headhunted to another world, from salaryman to Big Four, falls Uchimura, who is summoned to a fantasy world by the Demon Overlord. He is offered a job to become one of the 4 heavenly kings in the Demon Lord army, with full benefits and paid vacations. Uchimura has been bogged down by his job in the real world and reluctantly agrees. This show follows Uchimura as he works primarily as a negotiator between demi-human and fantasy races in order to grow the Demon Lord's army. Thus far, we have seen him interacting with ogres, orcs, and minotaurs, but one thing has stuck out to me thus far. Isn't this blatantly pig cannibalism, with the pig-looking orcs eating a wild boar? Headhunted to Another World is chock full of comedy and doesn't follow your OP protag as they one-shot things. Definitely one of the top 3 of this season, alongside the daily life of a middle-aged online shopper.
一度持ち帰らせていただきます。
The last of this top 3 and the best series of this season for Isekai is possibly the greatest Alchemist of all time. This was a show that I put at the back end of my watch list for these Isekai series, as the title alone made me really hesitant to watch it. I was then blown away and realized that I should not have judged this book by its cover, so to speak. It is a comedy series Isekai that takes itself serious, supplanting the comedy with serious moments that actually translate well. Takumi Iruma is accidentally summoned by the goddess of this world, to which she makes it up to him by giving him the right to choose any skill he would like. Instead of becoming your typical one-shotting main character, he goes and learns how to become a blacksmith to craft ores, tame a wild spider, and more as an alchemist. It is actually a pretty well-crafted isekai show that sees a very progressive nature in it. At one point, they initially mentioned slaves, which I was thoroughly worried about, but they actually made the concept fairly progressive in a fantasy setting. The nature of this quote-unquote slavery is actually indentured servitude, with those who are haggled by debts, prisoners of war, and reformed criminals being given a chance to have a life. It also provides basic human rights protections to those people, so if anything, this shouldn't be the term slavery, but actually indentured servitude, or more like a work contract. And I know what you're thinking, there's obviously going to be some kind of typical ecchi shenanigans, but that's actually not the case, with Takumi genuinely caring for the 2 women he hires to help him with his daily affairs, Maria the housemaid and Sophia Sylphie the elf. Sophia is cursed, with her magic sealed off and her body weakened by this state. What once was a great warrior is now dilapidated and worn down. Takumi then helps cure her of her ailments, and honestly, I haven't found myself more interested in a fantasy show since Tsukimichi Moonlight Fantasy. I highly recommend this series, and undoubtedly suggest that this is the best isekai series of the season.
I'm at the door.
Toilet-bound Hanako-kun finally gets a much-deserved second season after a long 5-year wait. But that's not the only supernatural show this season, with Welcome to Japan Miss Elf. Kazuhiro is dreaming about adventuring with an elf girl, only to awaken to see a naked Maribel, or Mary, in his bed. Marie takes in all of Japan, and this is like a reverse isekai in a way for both Kazuhiro and Marie. While they sleep, they return to this fantasy world where they find a dragonkin by the name of Rida, to which I instantly get PTSD from the countless times in which people in D&D try to romance the dragon, or Donkey from Shrek. Welcome to Japan Miss Elf is a healthy blend of real life and fantasy world shenanigans that I have enjoyed thus far. It is one of the better shows this season by a large margin. Another show that I really enjoyed is Tasokare Hotel, which is a psychological thriller and mystery show that takes inspiration from Death Parade. The hotel is engulfed in twilight and does not deviate between night and day, as it's a quite literal form of purgatory. Tsukahara Neko arrives at the manor without memories of her past. This follows a similar path, with Neko being similar to Chiyuki or Dekum's assistant, with the hotel manager being like Dekum. These kinds of supernatural shows are right up my alley, so I actually love it, but I can see why people aren't interested or just haven't heard about it. Each episode serves to show a new guest at the hotel who needs help either moving on or going back to the land of the living. While the concepts are somewhat the same, it has a similar emotional punch like Death Parade.
We are same, but different. But still same.
Bang Dream Ave Mujica, or Ave Mujica The Die is Cast, is a sequel to Bang Dream It's My Go. It's a musical drama that is absolutely amazing. It is a show with an all-girl band that uses a blend of musical theater and heavy metal that I think has been highly overlooked due to the mass amounts of CGI animation that they have used. I will say that while it is noticeably CGI, it is not inherently bad. The sequel picks up pretty much where the prequel left off, and just based off the music alone of the first series, this will continue to be a very good series. If anything, the biggest takeaway from Ave Mujica is that these hardcore shredding that these anime girls do is very heavily deer and gray coded. The most compelling part of the story, besides the heavy metal anime girls, is our main character, Sakiko, dealing with her dynamic with her alcoholic father. It is a good representation of the effects of substance abuse on familial ties and family in general. It is not getting as much eyeballs on it in the Western world, and again, the music makes up for some of the CGI shortcomings. Grisaia, Phantom Trigger is a sequel to the two Phantom Trigger movies that follow Grisaia no Rauken. Grisaia is one of my favorite visual novel series of all time, so I'm aware of what happens in the series after Fruits of Grisaia, but for those unaware, the series does provide a 2-minute catch-up summary. This is helpful for those who aren't interested in the series or haven't seen it before, but even during the synopsis, they make a joke with the audience about ramen, which is just pretty Grisaia coded. Grisaia has always struck a chord with me, and if you want to see high school girls with sniper rifles and killing others, this is definitely something you would want to watch. I would highly recommend watching Fruits of Grisaia and Grisaia no Rauken before getting into Phantom Trigger though, as you'll appreciate the season a lot more if you do. This is probably why people haven't enjoyed Phantom Trigger a lot, with the wide gap between the series only being filled by 2 films and people just not knowing what happens. Now, some of you may be asking for other action series this season, and don't worry, I didn't really forget y'all. Firstly, there is Zenshuu, which is about Natsuko Hirose, a talented animator who works her way up to becoming a director. Her first anime is a massive hit, and I love the fact that we can't see Natsuko's face with her hair covering. We don't ever see her face until the perfect moment, and it's like an analogy for the lack of identity that animators get as a collective in the anime industry. Keeping her face hidden like that is an amazing choice by MAPPA, as this is an original anime built from scratch. Natsuko watches her favorite movie, A Tale of Perishing, and as she watches, she eats before slowly choking to death. In terms of plot, Zenshuu is really basic, but the animation shines as always due to MAPPA's skill and prowess. When Natsuko finally reveals her face, she can be seen illustrating and storyboarding what will happen later in the show. These illustrations literally come to life. This may seem like a retread, but the animation and visuals of Zenshuu carry the series, with Natsuko trying to rewrite the depressing story of A Tale of Perishing. If you want to see the most appealing show to the eye this season, Zenshuu is it by a country mile. The only other show that rivals it this season is Solo Leveling Season 2, which returns with some absolute heat. There's a kind of two-way tie for me, as the second one is Sakamoto Days. Legendary hitman Sakamoto Taro retires after falling in love with a convenience store clerk named Aoi. Sakamoto goes from a built and in-shape looks maxer to a dad bod touting store clerk with a daughter. Asakura Shin tries to recruit Sakamoto back to the hitman organization, but he fails as Sakamoto would rather live his days in peace. Just because he quit though does not mean he's lost his skills, far from it. The one thing that separates Shin from other hitmen is his psychic abilities. Shin follows Sakamoto's lead and goes straight, working alongside each other at the convenience store. This is a series chock full of great action and comedy with the visuals to definitely back it up. It has the potential to be a mainstay series for several more seasons, with its lighthearted themes contrasting with the dark landscape of the underworld in the series. The one show that I would often compare it to would actually be Spy X Family, with the way of going back and forth between light and dark theme. But there's only one series that I can really say is the best, and even though there is a tie, I've enjoyed this one more, and I think it's more well-rounded than all the other ones I previously mentioned. Ameku MD, Dr. Detective, follows Tako Ameku, who works at a general hospital, as she works in a general diagnostic department. She works on cases concerning mysterious illnesses or even murders that the police have yet to figure out. It is quite literally an anime version of House, and I've always been a sucker for procedural shows such as The Rookie and Criminal Minds. Ameku has the same crassness as House, but in an anime form. It has everything you could want from a series and more, with a compelling story and mysteries that are carefully crafted. Overall, it has the potential to be the best original series alongside Sakamoto Days for this season.
We've got rectal bleeding.
What, all of you?
The final show of the season is Flower and Asura, which is criminally underrated. It is about Hana, who is obsessed with storytelling and reading. The visuals of the series are brilliant as they come to life as she speaks. Her friend, Mizuki, convinces Hana to join the broadcasting club, which allows her love for reading and storytelling to flourish. Studio Bind is producing something that is super underrated and definitely underwatched as a seinen drama that is gripping both visually and narratively. Many people may not get attached to the series, but for those of you who want a story that is in the driver's seat in terms of quality, this is it this season. Let me know what you all thought about all of these animes. Which ones are you watching and which ones do you definitely don't want to watch? I think if there's any shows that I am going to continue watching from this season, it's Sakamoto Days, Flower and Asura, Ameku MD, and Medalist. I've been Siren's End, and I will see you all in the next video.